We're going to go ahead and install our strainer plate and our sump plate and drain plug. Now, normally on this application, I would not recommend using any kind of sealant. Just put the gaskets on clean and dry. But because this case has a small amount of corrosion, which we can see kind of in between the studs, and if we feel it with our fingers, it feels a little rough. And because we don't know that the gasket will seal it 100%, I'm going to go ahead and use a very small amount of Loctite 574 to seal this. Now, if this crankcase was a lot worse, when we have the machine work done for the close and hone on the case, I would also have these gasket surfaces remachined. So when I apply sealant to a gasket, I'm just going to apply it to the surface where it counteracts the corrosion, and I'm going to use a very small amount. I'm not looking to have the sealant be the primary sealing amount. I just want to add a little bit because the engine is old, so that it is going to not leak. I don't want to also have it squeezing out around the joint. So I'm just going to spread that. Then we're going to go ahead and apply that onto the studs. Push it in. The next piece that goes in is our strainer plate. The strainer plate should be clean. These holes right here should not be elongated or otherwise damaged. It's always good to look at those. The screen should be in good shape, no holes. This is just going to install by pushing on and then rotating until the studs line up, and we make sure that that's all the way seated and in. With the gasket that goes on this one next, I'm going to do the same thing because our oil sump also has some small corrosion points in it, and we want to make sure that this gives a good seal. I'm going to apply the same small amount of 574 to this surface as well. So I'm going to apply it to the gasket first. Typically, I don't want to apply anything sealer-wise that would cause a gasket to stick to the strainer plate, only because in routine service, when the strainer plate is pulled off and cleaned, it is a fairly light gauge steel, and if the gasket is stuck so hard to that surface that you can't get it off or clean it off, you're going to end up creating more damage to that strainer plate. So you always want to make sure you're clean and dry up against that portion of it. Same thing, apply the gasket. Now, when we install the actual sump plate, we want to make sure that the plate has the drain plug situated up and across from the pickup. If we install it like this right on top and bolt it all down with the drain plug in there, we're actually not even going to be able to get it on. If we bolt it down, it's going to damage it. If the engine does try and run, it will be restricted on the oil pickup. So we always want to make sure that we have that drain plug located opposite the oil pickup. For nuts and washers, the original configuration was a flat washer and a wave washer followed by a regular nut. I typically like to use nylock nuts, so I'm just going to go ahead and apply my flat washers. Then I'm just going to go ahead and start all the nuts. Okay, once I've got all the nuts started, we always want to start all of the hardware first. I'm just going to go ahead and run these down with a 1/4 inch ratchet. There will be a drag because they're a nylock nut, and I want to bring them down just until they contact first. I want to make sure that everything feels good, and I'm bringing it down in a crisscross pattern to begin with. Once I've got them brought down and just nipped in close, we'll grab a torque wrench. Now that we've got all the nuts run down, we're going to use our quarter drive torque wrench. These are going to be tightened to 6 Newton meters. I've already gone ahead and set my torque wrench. So we're just going to carefully pick those up. Same thing with a crisscross pattern, just to keep everything coming down nice and level. The last thing we need to do is install our drain plug. So I've already got our drain plug, I've got our aluminum seal washer. I've already lubricated the thread on the sump plate itself. So I'm just going to go ahead and screw this in. This one is going to be torqued to 42 Newton meters. I already have our 3/8 drive torque wrench and a 15 millimeter socket. And we're just going to go ahead and tighten that once.